Secret to success. I mentioned in another record that several years ago we spent the day with Dr. George C. Polk, Jr., 1139 West Peachtree Street in Atlanta, Georgia, and studied his office procedure. The visit was in keeping with our continuous research into the features which made a chiropractor succeed or fail. After spending the night with Dr. Polk, we drove to his office at 8 a.m. the next morning to find it becoming a beehive of activity. Mrs. Alma Murphy, Dr. Polk's receptionist for many years, was at her front desk. As the patients arrived, she placed their folders in a holder easily accessible to Dr. Polk. In this manner, the office was run efficiently and fairly on a first-come, first-served basis. A special room for women contains 5 chaise lounges, a gown cabinet, dressing booth, and other necessary conveniences for patients' comfort. The men have equal facilities. In Dr. Polk's office, there is a side posture adjusting table, a high-low, scales, plumb line, a neurocalligraph instrument, graphs, and X-ray view boxes, all necessary for the general care of every patient every day. We remained with Dr. Polk for 13 hours and 5 minutes as he took care of patients. Among them was a United States Senator, his wife and children, a general in the United States Army, a gentleman who held the state's highest post in the agricultural department, a sculptor who had done Franklin D. Roosevelt, and other well-known personalities along with the rank and file of the human race. During those 13 hours and 5 minutes, patients seemed to be all over the place. When the day was over, we asked Mrs. Murphy for the daily registration sheet. We counted 148 patients, one every 5 minutes. They all had come by direct referrals. What are the qualities that develop such a practice? On another occasion, Dr. Ed R. Reinhardt of Kitchener, Ontario, Canada, spent 8 hours and 15 minutes, and he handled 82 patients. All received full spine adjustments as a minimum of care. In addition, Dr. Reinhardt x-rayed 4 new patients and adjusted 1 transit who had his own x-rays. All patients came from direct referrals. Dr. Reinhardt has never advertised since he graduated from Canadian Memorial Chiropractic College over a decade ago. What qualities does this possess that develops a practice? In Syracuse, New York, Dr. Cruz now has evolved one of the most gratifying, solid referral practices anywhere. And Dr. Howe is the epitome of success, not only as a doctor of chiropractic, but as an individual. What does he possess that produced such an overwhelming following in only a half dozen years? In Santa Ana, California, Dr. Carly Rimland conducts a one-man office at 207 South Main. He's built one of the most able, steady referral practices on the West Coast. We drove through Santa Ana a few years ago and stopped at 7 filling stations inquiring of the attendants as to their favorite chiropractor. 4 of the 7 places had individuals on duty who referred to Dr. Rimland as their favorite chiropractor and directed me to his office. What demand success can create a 100% referral practice? In Pueblo, Colorado, Dr. William T. Roush operates a conveniently located, attractive clinic-type office with facilities enabling him to care for up to 65 patients daily, all direct referrals. In addition to his regular patients, he x-rayed 5 new patients one day and was forced to postpone 2 other appointments. These were all referrals too. Among the group were individuals, incidentally, from New Mexico and Oklahoma, the neighboring states. Results bordering on miracle were being discussed in the reception room and back in the quarters where I visit. Were there certain success qualities in this that are all present in theirs? Yes, indeed. In Granby, Quebec, Canada, Dr. Hervey Lafleur practices at a well-manned, neat office just off Main Street. He regularly takes care of 80 to 90 patients daily. Has never spent a nickel on advertising. Recently, I was speaking Granby to the annual Provincial Association with the opportunity to step to Lafleur and his methods. From the moment he picked us up at the airport in Montreal to the time we left 4 days later, we questioned him exhaustively. He explained how he charged examinations, x-rays, office calls, series, and other services. He demonstrated how he moved his patients about, put the women on one side and on the other side of the hall that separated them. And listen, we thought of the hundreds of other similar experiences we had in interviewing successful chiropractors throughout North America and Europe. We ask ourselves, what does this man possess that attracts people such numbers? What does he own in his personality that we can put into words and transfer to our colleagues? And on the story goes. In a Texas hamlet of less than 100 people, a chiropractor took care of 274 people in less than 5 hours. This fact is hard to believe, I know, but it is true. He did condyle adjusting only, adjusting 2 patients at a time. Incidentally, he got amazing results and attracted patients from many states. One day they spent in his office. He adjusted 5 patients from Chicago, Illinois. They were down by a registered nurse who had come to him from a direct referral. We spent separate days, as a matter of fact, watching fantastic practice. In Portland, Oregon, San Francisco, California, Gilmer, Texas, Louisville, Kentucky, Cincinnati, Ohio, Ann Arbor, Michigan, Cumberland, Wisconsin, Brussels, Belgium, Copenhagen, Denmark, Paris, France, Geneva, Switzerland, Glasgow, Scotland, Pretoria, South Africa, Sydney and Australia, Auckland, New Zealand, and dozens of other places. We have talked to chiropractors and did numerous methods. Did thousands of notes, filed, indexed, calculated, even on IBM cards, re-examined various procedures, and thought the reasons why the end creates fabulous practices, and others within the same block in many instances fail miserably or operate mediocre practices. Started doing this after we operated for a number of years our 18 offices in Texas, and from this basic beginning we have proved again the basic fundamentals of the successful methods created many years ago. Now the same question always returns. Are there some qualities inherent in these doctors that make them successful? How much do they acquire, and how much is inborn? Does it come from education? If so, where did they learn it? Did it come from experience? If so, is it a particular kind that others have not gained? Did it come from environment? If so, what kind? They have some special technique, graduate from some particular school, look in a certain state, town, or part of town. Were they old, young, middle-aged? Were they tall, short, wide, or thin? Were they single, married, divorced? Did they have a special good luck piece? Did they have money to start? What golden threads woven throughout each of these men that, if covered, may serve a formula? Yes, a magic formula for the rest of us. Did we find several or only one factor that each exception possessed? Yes, Browners, yes, indeed, we found it. And here it is. Salesmanship, balanced with service, is the real key to success. Let me repeat that, brown baggers. Salesmanship balanced with service is the real key to success. Or we could say it conversely, service balanced with salesmanship is the real key to success. Let me explain. There is a chiropractor, for example, now working for a Pennsylvania concern who has a BS and a DC degree. He is licensed to practice chiropractic in 4 states and has actually practiced in 3 of them. He made one of the highest grades ever recorded in one basic science examination. He last practiced as an associate, but was dismissed after a few months. I was adjusted by him while he practiced as an associate. His service was far above average, and I've been treated by hundreds of chiropractors throughout the world. Now, this doctor is married, he is a father, and he is a Christian. His ability and integrity are above reproach. His doctor employer said to me, "Jim, there is something about him that patients just don't seem to like." He is now working for about $500 a month, and chiropractic is without a potentially wonderful member. He lacks salesmanship. This is rather an extreme example, I know, but there are literally thousands of chiropractic graduates who are not practicing or who are doing far less than their maximum capabilities. Now, another but different example is that here in Texas, within 100 miles of Fort Worth, where I am making these records, there is another chiropractor who has practiced in 4 locations, 3 of which have been in Texas. He is personable, good-looking, dresses immaculately, and could sell an Eskimo a refrigerator. He has handled as many as 75 patients daily in previous practices. He is now selling shoes after having sold himself out of his 4th practice. This example, too, is frequently found within our profession, but far, far less than the first one mentioned. This one lacked service. Both of these doctors possess qualities that we have found that is indispensable to complete success. Yet they both failed. Each one had a quality the other lacked, namely service and salesmanship. The first possessed all the qualities of service, but lacked the ability to sell himself. He failed to convince people of the worth of his products, services, and ideas. On the other hand, the second doctor had the innate personality to sell, but had neglected to face the reality that he had to serve the people of his community with sincerity, with honesty, with ability, and to get results in order to get people well and produce happy, satisfied patients in his community. Service balanced with salesmanship is the only common ingredient appearing in all successful men. Let me repeat that conversely. Salesmanship balanced with service is the real key to success. Balance is the essential quality. Success is quite possible either through salesmanship alone or service alone, but such success is usually short-lived or far less than the individual's potentialities. Permanent success requires a balance of these 2 essential ingredients. Balance is a natural law of the universe, and success is not exempt from this natural law. This law of balance is the golden thread I've found entwined deep within the fiber of every successful chiropractor I've ever known. Selling without equal service is like a diploma without the knowledge. Any success gained through selling without a truly heartfelt love for the patient's complete welfare is deception. Success through deception is ephemeral. High-pressure methods, even though temporarily productive of a financial gain, always defeat the overall purpose of a lifelong career. Cursory examination sloppy adjustments, dishonest time-saving procedures eventually produce a feeling of dissatisfaction in a patient. Even though they may take and pay for a series of service, they will not refer. This high-pressure kind of selling reminds me of the time I went to get my driver's license renewed. The officer pointed to the chart on the wall and asked me to read the bottom line aloud. And so I read the letters P, Z, S, F, R, Q. Now read the chart below slowly, he said. And so louder and clearer I read these words: I want some tickets to the policeman's ball. The officer quickly said, how many? On the other hand, and this is typical, a doctor who has service without some semblance of proper procedure and salesmanship as a personality is equally handicapped. There seems to be a stigma attached to the word salesmanship, especially in professional circles. Some highbrows, refusing to face reality, frown in disdain at the very mention of the word, and these individuals are often the very best salesmen in the profession. Then there are those who think they just can't sell, that they have no aptitude for it. Robert Frost says, I am against these modern aptitude tests. My advice is, if you want something, go out and get an aptitude for it. If anyone had given me an aptitude test and found that I was colorblind and tone deaf, I would have become a painter and a musician out of pure cussedness. A dozen years ago, when I first started teaching success principles and practices, some of my colleagues labeled me all sorts of odious terms, yet most of these doctors are now our most ardent supporters, because true salesmanship is as devoid of dishonesty and insincerity as Christ was of hate and sin. True salesmanship is service-ship. Service without salesmanship vitiates success as much as salesmanship without service. Thus the great need to balance these two necessities. For us to disregard salesmanship, which is really proper human relationship and patient management, is an indispensable factor in the perpetuation of our profession. This hurts the cause of chiropractic and the millions of additional sick folks we should be serving. By rigidly adhering to this law of balance, the inevitable result will be that you will have more new patients. More old patients will return when necessary. More satisfaction and happiness will be exhibited by your regular patient group. More referrals will develop. People will pay more willingly. And you, the doctor, will live longer and be happier and healthier as a result of this renewed, improved patient satisfaction brought about by a balance of salesmanship with service. There is one word of caution. Be critical in your search for the elements that produce the proper balance. There is a right way and a wrong way in all endeavors. The right way is productive, the wrong way is debilitative.